Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. But Sanskriti, welcome to this panel of experts. You have done your this thing. You have done your graduation from IIT Benares, and but you are from Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh, and a place called Dhar district. You did your schooling, etc., from that place only, but you did your graduation from IIT Benares in electronics. Now, Dhar is actually Madhya Pradesh uh, is not known as a very industrially progressive area, in the sense that still it's quite a backward district. I think it's probably an aspirational district, perhaps. And Dhar has also a lot of. Can you tell us something about now? Suppose you are from that, since you are from that area and given a chance, you are given a chance to do a 360-degree planning, developmental planning for that area, to all the physical parameters like child and my infant and maternal mortality indices, mortality indices, education, female literacy, retention rate of the females, the girls' education, and generally standard education and health aspect, and at the same time the livelihood. Because Dhar, I suppose there's a lot of migration from Dhar. Now, all these, then I suppose Dhar also has a drinking water issue there, especially in summer. So all these 360-degree empowerment, some will be short term, some will be given a chance, you get a chance to do something about the district, and at sufficiently high policy level and implementation level. So what are the short term and long term measures you will either take or suggest to the government for taking?
So, given that Dhar has a sizable tribal population, also it is one of the 10 scheduled districts. So, my one of the short-term preference will be more focus on tribal education through Eklavya School and now the newer PM Rise schools. So, second is there is a lack of medical colleges and hospitals in the area. So, by partnering with nearby hospitals of Indore or Ujjain through telemedicine services in the shorter term in the Dhar district. So, third is there is an issue of waste management in the area general. There is only one waste management plant at Pithampur. So we can have a circular economy by raising awareness by using proper infrastructure. Sir, in the longer term, as Dhar hosts one of the major industrial area of Madhya Pradesh, that is the Pithampur area, we can leverage on that and create jobs by infusing the latest and new technologies as well, also by integrating the food processing system, as Dhar has a lot of horticultural and organic farming produce. Sir, also the diversification of crops in the region of Dhar, as we have seen because of the millet push by the government of India, that can be also be done in Dhar. Sir, apart from that, in the case of nutrition, there is a lot of malnutrition. So we can have strengthened Anganwadi or using real-time technology to assess the situation and then devising new mechanisms. And all this will also require strengthening the local self-governments, that is the panchayats and the municipalities of the region, sir.
No, that is of course the industrial, small and marginal industry. Now, is there any possibility of increasing the participation? Basically, real power comes from the now unfortunately electoral politics, and maybe kind of because, as you said, predominantly tribal, and that too, Dhar, I suppose, even in the tribal hierarchy, there's the hierarchy of these tribes are quite not low tribes. So they are giving them power. Because one is kind of giving them some kind, but how to kind of prepare them for taking over they're in a position to kind of determine the self-determination and the education, and they become the higher echelons of the government administration, medicine, engineering, the higher levels of that ultimately they take over the administration. Fantastic. Let them think about the development themselves. So that kind of empowerment. I'm not sure the women among them also will be very marginalized. So along with the women, the men also, the empowering the entire population so that they take over.
So this can be done by empowering the local self-government through the offices of Panchayat Secretariat. We can give training to the sarpanches, also the women here, because of the 50% reservation for women in panchayats. They can also be given capacity building programs through the self-help groups in the area. And also, sir, the leaders of all the major political parties can be involved in this to train their leadership at the local level, so that there can be more electoral partnership from tribal areas. And sir, the dissemination of information that we are doing, that should be done in the vernacular languages of these regions, so that they can have a better reach.
Okay, now let us come to your subject, which is your in the civil services. Your optional was anthropology, I suppose, no?
Political science and
Sorry, PSIR. PSIR was now, but you are an electronics engineer. Let us come to the your subject, this academic subject. Now, have you heard about semiconductor technology? Recently, semiconductor technology is quite this thing as at a very sub-zero temperature, at a very low temperature. Semiconductors are constructed, but they say they have got a technology which says the semiconductors can be even constructed at even the room temperature level. So now they said this technology is moving very fast and become cost effective. So India, they say, is and semiconductors are necessary for almost every gadget you think of, electronic gadget. So suppose you get a chance like that, your own subject, how will you kind of and this is not only climate, because as you don't have to decrease the temperature, so that it is climate friendly. So it is in favor of the climate change, the conventions. So given all that, the positive sides, how will you kind of push this technology, which is so beneficial all over the world, and especially for a country like us?
So first is, we will require a funding for investing in such kind of technology and to build it to scalability. So for that, using the schemes like the production linked schemes or the design linked schemes in the semiconductor system, we can invite private investment in the area. So second is having a better industry academia linkages, so that the industries can get a better talent pool, right, and train them right from their college days. So these are two initiatives that I can think of now.
Think of. And lastly, I'm talking about the general nature of the women's role in the society. Even after so many years of our independence, the women's role, even among educated women's role in the society, is quite, especially in a place like Madhya Pradesh, is quite low. So, how do you? I mean, given a chance, I suppose it should come from within. But what a system, like a governmental system, societal system, can do to improve this level? Because without that, the half of our population is basically not taking any decision. The rest of the half, they may not be involved in the society at all. They are too busy with their own profession. They are taking most of the decisions. So the basic involvement, basic empowerment of this 50% almost, how it can be empowered to take decisions at almost every level which it concerns them at least, and the society it concerns society in general.
Sir, for women empowerment holistically, we should take a life cycle approach from the beginning, right from their childhood days. The schemes implementing proper nutrition and primary education for women should have a better enforcement mechanisms, should also involve the local population through Jan Andolans, as we have done in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Sir, then in the later part, the safety of women is also one of the primary concerns for parents as well as the younger women to go out. So for that, the police and the investigative and the law enforcement agencies have to be very proactive to deal with such safety related issues. So third is in case of mobility of women, because of the patriarchal nature of our society, the mobility is mostly restricted. So here we have to bring a behavioral change by identify the social change agents in the society. Sir, and also,
Yeah. You want to say anything? Any more point?
sir, finally, the political empowerment has to be there, as we have very lesser participation of women in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly. So
No, that
reservation.
is the women's reservation bill. It is not really seeing the light of the day, I suppose.
Yes, sir, and we should have a more debate around it, and we should move towards the women's reservation.
Why can't the voters take a vow that that unless the party which doesn't support this bill should not be, we'll just say nota for those parties, any candidate from that party. Why can't there be a kind of this sort of mentality of the voter?
So for if we want to have a voter change in the voter behavior, we have to have more awareness generation that how women politicians can also deliver good results, which is not a prevalent thought in the society. But at the same time, sir, this new initiative will require both the voters' demand as well as a supply side enactment of the law also, sir.
No, that is bill is stuck. I mean, nothing is happening. I mean, all of the political parties agree on that. It will not move. It will not move an inch. Anyway, Judge sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Yes, Sanskriti, very recently there have been some cases, famous cases, criminal cases, in which the courts acquitted the accused after several years or decades. And they were, cases which were very much talked about in the media and in the public. One happened in Rajasthan, one happened in UP due to prosecution lapses as per the court order. Now, this type of things happen quite often in many cases. What do you think are the reasons for it, and what are the remedies to it?
So the reasons may be the lack of proactive investigation by our investigation departments, also the lack of staff in the police departments due to positive staffs and the delays in the proceedings. Such also evidences are lost in these year-long proceedings or decade-long proceedings, sir. So at the same time, for remedy of such things, we should increase the density of police in our country. We see that our average police per 1,000 or 1 lakh population is lesser than the world average. Also, sir, a criminal tracking network system that is in works that has to be integrated more with our investigation departments. And also, we have to separate the law and order functions of the police and the investigative functions of the police. And the prosecutors, the judges from the lawyers from the government side has to be trained to be more sensitive to the needs of the vulnerable sections which are aspiring for justice in such cases, sir.
So everything, according to you, the lapses are on the part of police investigation and also in the prosecution. There is nothing wrong with the law or with the judicial system.
Sir, I admit that we need to overhaul our laws that are very much of the colonial era, that we many times the evidences are not permissible in the courts, and also the judicial pendencies is one of the concerns, sir.
Anyway, now, do you understand what are public borrowings? Why, and in what circumstances public borrowings are, taken up?
So public borrowings are what the government, state governments or the central government take from the market or from the public sector banks or other such institutions. They undertake this to fund their fiscal deficit.
What is fiscal deficit?
So fiscal deficit is the difference between the expenditure and the revenue that the government is getting.
So, is there any limit to this borrowing? Can the government borrow any amount of money?
So
What are the restrictions?
Sir, there is a limit according to the according to FRDM Act. However, I'm not sure what is the limit as of now. But the
And
government.
what are off-budget borrowings?
So the off-budget borrowings are which the government has not mentioned in their budgets. Like previously, the dues of FCIs that were also borrowing, but were not mentioned in the budget. But recently, the government has cleared those.
Government has cleared.
Those FCI dues, sir.
That is another thing. But off-budget borrowings are counted towards public borrowing for FRBM Act or not?
Sir, I will have to check on this.
Okay. And tell me, what is the political situation now, as of now? I mean, in the recent past, in Nepal. Can you describe it in brief? And how is it impacting India?
So the current party in power in Nepal is a coalition, especially of the Communist Party, and they are seen to be more leaning towards China, which is a cause of concern for India, sir.
Who is heading the current government?
So the Pushpa Kumar Dahal, he is nicknamed as Prachanda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What is happening?
Okay, Sanskriti, now I see from your CV or your DEF, you are eco-friendly, minimalist lifestyle. You believe in that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what are the most ancient writings on this issue?
Sir, in context of India, our Vedas talk about the 5 elements of nature, the sky, earth, or water. These are, and with respect to different.
Be little specific. Vedas is a very big word. It encompasses so many things.
Sir, Rig Veda talks about 5 elements of nature.
No. Very specific. Since you take interest in that, I'm asking you. It is the very first verse of Isavasya Upanishad, which has been recited many times by many, prominent speakers. Okay, now you have lived in Varanasi for your BTech program.
Yes.
Can you tell me what is the historical importance of Varanasi in Indian civilization?
So Varanasi has been a spiritual, kind of a spiritual capital of India. We have seen the people from major religions, like the Tirthankaras of Jain have been born there. The place of Sarnath, where Lord Buddha gave his first sermon, or the Kashi Vishwanath temple, that is one of the Jyotirlingas. And also it is a place of great importance for Sanskrit learning. There is a Sanskrit Vidyalaya as well. Sir, also it is also a place where the Ganga is flowing, that the Ganga Aarti of that region, especially around the Ghats, is of very much importance to the whole civilizational culture of India.
Anything more? There are many, many more things.
So the Banarsi Pan is one of the famous things about Banaras.
Have you heard a name called Kabir?
Yes, sir. Kabir and Ravidas.
Have you heard Tulsidas?
Yes, sir.
Where were they?
So they were also situated in Varanasi.
Okay. There are many, many more. Okay. Now tell me, you come from MP. Bhimteka Caves. Have you heard this name?
Yes, sir.
What is the importance of these caves and what is the significance of their discovery?
So the Bhimbetka caves near the capital of Bhopal has been one of the earliest caves of prehistoric civilizations. and they tell us about how the lives were there in the prehistoric civilization, the paintings there of sticky like, or the in different geometrical figures. They show how the people were used to hunt in groups or used to dance around a fire. These are some kind of findings in Bhimbetka, sir.
So what do you mean by prehistoric?
So prehistoric is one where the written records of history are not there.
Okay. So don't you think these caves have certain significance in the history of the world?
So they have the significance in the sense that they tell us about how the early man used to live their lives.
No, they have changed the very history of the humankind. They say that the humankind existed here at least 100,000 years back in time, which was not the case earlier. And these caves have been inscribed on the UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Now, one last question from my side. There has been a lot of controversy on the appointment of judges to the Supreme Court and the Chief Justices of the High Courts. You have seen that controversy in the news and press. Now, tell me, what are your views on this issue, how the appointment should be done in the national interest of the country?
So the main issue here is of transparency, accountability of the whole judicial process. So, sir, a reformed NJAC, which will also be in line with the judiciary's own pronouncement having a judicial independence. A reformed NJAC where there is primacy to judiciary, but also there is a say to the government. There can be more members, like 3 members from the judiciary, 1 member from the government, and 1 eminent person. And also, sir, apart from this, this whole process can be made open to all for filing their nominations, and a committee can scrutinize that nomination to be decided later by the collegium system.
Yeah, but NJAC has already been termed as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. And the government says that judges cannot appoint their own successors. It is not correct to do so. It is not done in any country in the world. So what are your views?
So the NJAC in its present form has been said unconstitutional because the judiciary says that the judiciary's way will be overturned by the government. So for that, we can have an odd numbered committee wherein the judiciary will have primacy. While the government's point that there should be not only be judges appointing judges. So for that, in the reformed NJAC, there can be a representative of the government, and the proceedings can be made more transparent to the whole public as well, to reduce the syndrome of Uncle Judge syndrome.
Okay, thank you so much, Sanskriti.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dawood sir.
Sanskriti, you just actually mentioned about when the issue was why there is a pendency and why our legal and police system is not very efficient. So one of the reasons given by you was that some of the evidences are not permissible in the courts. So which are those evidences you have in your mind which should be permissible in the court and which are not permissible?
Sir, I will have to read on this specific of which kind of evidences should be made permissible.
But you mentioned actually that there are evidences which are not permissible in the courts, and that is causing actually delay in the disposal of the cases in courts. So you must be having something in your mind, some evidences which should be permissible in the courts under Evidence Act.
Sir, I will have to read on what specific evidences need to be included, sir.
Okay. You have not opted for your home state.
Yes, sir, because my fiance is based out of Madhya Pradesh. So to have his own career and to balance with that, I have not chosen my own home state, sir.
But suppose you land up in Tripura then?
Sir, then I'll be happy to serve in Tripura. It's just as I had to give a choice. So I based my choice on the other considerations as well. But I will be happy to serve anywhere throughout the countries.
except Madhya Pradesh.
So why choose Madhya Pradesh was, yes, sir, it was a
Okay, we leave it. Now, can you just tell us about some important modern political thinkers you like? You must have read actually in your syllabus for the optional in political science.
so
Modern political thinkers.
So one of the modern political thinkers that I like is Hannah Arendt. Her own theory about totalitarianism and how the public should be more involved in deliberative democracy. When public is acting in concert, then there can be better lawmaking.
Now, one of the function of parliament, the legislature, is lawmaking. Practically, who makes the laws? Where the law is actually made, like the drafting, corrections, and you see the entire thing, where it happens? Does it happen inside the parliament or somewhere else?
So it happens in parliament as well as the bureaucracy, which are assisting the different ministries. They also bring up the kind of acts that are to be bring up in the parliament. Then parliamentarians debates on that based on their assessment of the ground situation and based on the feedback that they receive from the citizens.
But parliamentarians, do you think they have so much time that they can discuss and debate each and every sections of that act, and you see suggestions, and they can decide there itself? Is it possible?
So for that, we have parliamentary committees as well for specific type of issues. Like the data protection bill was sent to a committee relating to the information and scientific community. So different types of committees handle with different kinds of bills.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now, you have not opted for IPS and IFS. I mean, you have opted actually for revenue services preference. You have gone. What are the reasons why not IPS, IFS? Your third, fourth choice?
Sir, for Indian Police Services, because of a medical injury, I did not fill that up in the higher precedence. And for Indian Foreign Services, sir, I wanted to serve within the country for most of my career. And I thought my talents are better suited to IAS or IRS customs rather than IPS or IFS.
How they are best suited for the Indian Administrative Service?
Sir, I have worked in different sectors like in NGO, in health or education or sports. Even during my leadership positions in college, I have been involved in increasing women participation. So I think that my leadership positions across different sectors and my ability to bring a consensus on ground will be helpful in IAS. Sir.
But is it possible? Is it possible to have consensus on all the issues?
Sir, a leader has to make a consensus on most of the issues, but when there are tough calls to be made, a leader has to be ready to make those tough calls. Same is the case with Indian administrative services as well.
So what you will be doing after joining the IAS? What will be your role?
So the role will depend on what the government of India or the state governments will be giving me. But if I'm posted as a district, as a DM or as a collector, then ensuring the proper implementation of these schemes, taking survey of how the schemes are getting done, how the funds are being utilized.
That is not collector's job. That is the job of the CEO, Jila Parishad, Jila Panchayat. They have the machinery to implement, execute these schemes.
Sir,
Where about Panchayati Raj?
Yes, sir.
Three-tier Panchayati Raj, you are aware?
Yes, sir.
Which are the 3 tiers?
The first is the urban local bodies, and then there are
Urban.
municipal corporations or municipalities. Then, sir, there are at the level of tehsil or block level, the block development offices, and then there is a gram panchayat.
Gram Panchayat is at the lowest level. Then above that.
So there is a Jila Parishad. Jila Parishad block development.
In between.
So blocks, the tehsil level or block levels.
So what do they do?
Sir, at
They
the gram.
implement these schemes. They implement these schemes. all developmental functions are carried out by the Panchayati Raj institutions and municipalities and municipal corporations, not the DM. Now tell us actually 3 or 4 important functions of the collector for which you are aspiring.
Sir, in my own conversation with the DM of my own district, this were the things that I got to know that the.
Oh, then that DM may not be doing his or her own job. If he has told the developmental scheme, he may not be doing his job. Have you heard about revenue administration?
Yes, sir. The revenue department is also under the DM.
How? Which revenue department is under DM?
The district revenue department, sir.
What
Because
they do?
that's why it's called collector, because earlier it used to collect taxes from that area.
And now he collects what?
Sir, the local taxes.
Which are the
That
functions?
is also
Local
through
taxes.
That is also through the municipal, through the Nagar Nigams or through the panchayats as
Through
well.
the Nagar Nigam Panchayats. Collector has no role in Nagar Nigam Panchayats.
So he supervises these things in the
No,
district.
no, never. He never supervises. There is a director of municipalities.
Okay.
And there is a department. Have you heard about Patwari, Tehsildar, SDOs?
Yes, sir.
Heard?
Yes,
So
sir. The
what do they
Patwari,
do? What do they do?
so Patwari also takes a role in the land registrations in the area. They also certifies those things. They also certify different types of occupations. Accommodations that people are doing in that area. They are selling or buying of land and such.
You read actually more about the district administration, revenue administration, and functions of the district collector. Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Sanskriti. Hello. Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what you've written, eco-friendly and minimalist lifestyle is good, very ideal for an individual, but it won't work as society unless everybody wants to do that, and it will wreck the economy. So it's a very unrealistic.
Sir, I would humbly like to disagree on this, as we have seen that the Honorable Prime Minister himself has launched a life mission, the lifestyle for environment. And there are list of things that the government is also promoting for people to do. And I've seen seeing those lists are many of the things that I have been doing and seeing that the impact of such things. For example, the government data mentions that by closing the open tap, we can save around 9 trillion liters of water. So these are significant impacts that are done even by each people.
Okay, then what do you really mean by minimalist approach?
So minimalism is having only those things that are adding value to my own life.
But then how will the economy run? We can do away with many things around us.
So
how we will employ people, how will GDP will rise?
So the economy and GDP will rise because we will have a sustainable developmental model. And these things will also decrease the inequality in society. Right now, what is happening is the consumerism is having its effect on a certain section of population, while a lot other section of population is not having even the basic necessities of life. So,
but don't you think that the consumerism is actually what fuels the economy, which runs the economy?
So, but consumerism, when it is taken beyond the limit, when there is excess consumerism, it also harms the economy, because then the developmental effects and the dividends of the development are not reached to all sections of the society. Like we are seeing that the consumerism of West has destroyed the resources and climate in other parts of the world.
Okay, let's leave it there. Now tell me, you are trained electronic engineer, and then you worked as an analyst. You were earning a handsome salary of 1.6 lakh. And now you want to join civil service. Now, what does all this say about your, how focused you are on your goals?
Sir, while I joined electronics it was a decision based on my rank in the IIT JEE, but later the decision to do a job was my conscious decision. But while doing my job, when I tried to introspect after some time that what I'll be doing for the next 40 years of my life, I realized that I have done many other things, like being a member of an NGO, being member of a sports club in the college, working in those areas. That has also benefited me in my overall personality development. So I wanted to do such things at a larger level.
Okay,
That's
so now when you join as a civil servant, you will do another introspection and you will jump to something else.
So a common thing that ran across all this time was my ability to do different things for regarding public service at the ground level. And this will be there in the civil services. So I think that evolution will be there. And since civil services offers a diversity of opportunities, there are different sectors within the government. So that will give me ample opportunities to pursue my goals.
But how do you justify leaving a job earning a very handsome salary?
So because I live a minimalistic lifestyle, I realized that this is the salary. I can also live without this salary, with a very minimum salary as well. I will have to have a fulfilling life that I will get in civil services.
Okay, now suppose you become a civil servant, let's say IAS. What will be the kind of challenges that you will face in the initial years of your service?
The first will be getting from the academic knowledge to the ground realities that an administrator might face. So adjusting to that might be one of the challenge, but that can be overcome through training. So second is my own adaptability to different kind of situations, like having to a different kind of state, learning a different kind of language. That can be an initial challenge, but I think I will be able to overcome these challenges.
But job-wise, these are all the adjusting phase. But the actual job-wise, what will be your dilemma? What will be the tough decisions and the challenges that you will be facing?
Sir, sometimes managing between rules and what the situation is there on ground. For example,
So how do you do that? How do you do that?
So for that,
How do you turn a blind eye to something that is not fair around you?
sir, while upholding rule will also be my duty, but at the same time, there is also some kind of discretion given to the administrator to deal with the local situations. And at the end, one can also justify our actions if it's in larger public interest.
But how would you face political pressure that comes on civil servants very often? And if you stand against them, you will have a very dire consequences. I'm not trying to frighten you. I know your ideals and you should pursue that. I'm just asking you whether are you aware about it and how you will handle it.
So there might come times when my seniors or senior politicians might be telling me to do different things. But as we see, sir, that politicians also have a ground level information. They also represent the people. So if they are saying something which is legal, then I will go ahead with the decision, and I can also take their feedback to improve the policies that I'm implementing on the ground. So at the same time, if a demand is...
They may be pressurizing you something that they didn't like. What you were doing the right things, but they didn't. It was not in their interest, so that's why they pressurize you.
So in such situation, if the demand from them is illegal, I will outrightly say no. But if the demand is legal, then I will try to accommodate their concerns as well.
Okay. Now you are from Madhya Pradesh. How would you promote the tourism in the state, which has a good tourism now, but that is the internal within India tourism? How would you attract international tourism? Because you are in competition with Rajasthan, UP.
So first is the MICE tourism, that is the meetings, international conference, exhibition tourism can be increased in Madhya Pradesh. as we saw in the recent Pravasiya Bharatiya Divas that was being held in Indore. Sir, also Khajuraho being the UNESCO World Heritage Site can be touted as a world wedding destination for couples all around the world. It can be done through social media awareness campaigns and by having a masquerade for different types of area. So third is Madhya Pradesh is also gifted with a lot of natural parks, national parks and wildlife reserves. It is the tiger state with most tigers in the country. These things can be promoted through better campaigns of branding this thing by involving the people of Indian origin abroad from Madhya Pradesh.
You see, these are all already known USB for Madhya Pradesh, but they have not been capitalized for international tourism. That's my question is, how will you do that? We know about Khajuraho, we know about various parks, national parks, but how to market them and come to the attention of international tourists?
Sir, one thing we can also do is inviting the film industry, the Bollywood industry or the TV series industry to have these locations in their TVs, because now the Indian cinema is being watched all around the world. That can also act as ambassadors for the Madhya Pradesh tourism.
Okay, now my final question. There was ASEAN countries, there was a BIMSTEC agreement, and there is a Quad. Don't you think these are all overlapping and redundant?
So while they have an overlapping interest, that is BIMSTEC, ASEAN, they all want to act in concert with India's Act East policy. But at the same time, sir, there are also different interests. Like with BIMSTEC, India wants to promote regional connectivity, regional trade. It also acting as a bridge to ASEAN. With ASEAN, India's relationship is also based on economic relationship, on their security relationship, that we are exporting defense products to them. So while Quad, it's a partnership for different kind of things to have a rules-based international order and freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific Oceans. So these three are different kind of situation, different kind of institution, while having some overlapping jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanskriti. We'll put you in the waiting room and we'll bring you back for the feedback. Sanskriti, when is your interview?
Sir, 26th of April.
26th April. Today is your 6th. So, yeah, maybe 15 days, 2 weeks, you can say. Okay. This is your first interview before the UPSC or
Second interview, sir.
second interview? First interview was last year, no?
No, sir, 2020. That was my first attempt.
That was. So how much did you get in that interview?
So 182.
So quite nice. Why did you? Because your written must not have been.
Yes, sir.
That is the thing. Now, this year also you appeared in some few mocks, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
A few mocks. So what are the common suggestions they are giving? A few mocks. Common.
That I'm being a little verbose. My answers are longer than they should be. And initially, I was also given the advice of speaking a little in a slower.
Okay. Now, Sanskriti, you have improved quite a lot. Today, the panel was quite in appreciation of your most of your knowledge bases your TikTok. I mean, in the sense, there are a few here and there. That obviously it will always happen. See, you prepare for ABC. You have seen also perhaps they are in the last these 2020 interview. You must have prepared this. You might have prepared. Might have asked. There you have to think on your feet. You can't help it. So those will remain. You have to systematically cover most of the knowledge boxes you can tick off. But see what the panel will like to just give a little. You know, you are already 180, so why not 200? Why not 200 is out of 275? So why not 200? So aim for 200 plus. What the panel, this panel will like you to have is, you know, that is true. You have to use most of the areas you are quite strong. So when you the question comes, you are so strong, so you just let it go. Now, Sanskriti, it is actually is not a, people might have told you earlier also, it's not a discussion forum. It is not a, it will not be a discussion forum, nor will it be a kind of a exchange of ideas and this. It is actually very basic, bold statement is a job interview. The job for the best job in India. So now these 30, 35, 30 plus minutes, you'll have to just kind of entire cell in your brain should be locked onto these, what these 5 old experienced gentlemen or ladies are saying, and then listen to that. You are listening also, but after listening, you have to process that in your mind's computer, process those questions, because they are having some purpose behind those questions. And then you're also saying firstly, secondly, but that point wise, it's not crisp. The point should be crisp and short, like the bullet points, no? If you sometimes you draft something in a bullet form, bullet, like that. Even your opinion, just first of all think through. Most important point you say first at the very beginning. Later on, you may not have enough time. So the next important point, second, first, sir, I want to say submit this thing. Secondly, sir, I want to say something. First, second, 3, 4 points, and stop. And sometimes you are a little forgetting that. There's a type to stop also, no? So, because if there is a supplementary, they will ask, you don't have to exhaust all your points, no, in one go. Mostly if the points are so good, your opinions are so nice, fresh, they will ask, then you can have a chance to kind of respond to that. And secondly, when you are saying something, you take suddenly, that's why a little practice anyway. You already, many of the things, you have to think through and you have to ultimately defend. Many 2-3 cases, it was a like minimalistic lifestyle. You please prepare yourself. The very controversial thing you have said in your DAP, and that will catch all over anybody's eyes, and they'll pick it up from there. That is a huge contradiction between an administrator who comes to a materialistic world with the monk who sold a Ferrari type, the Robin Sharma type of lifestyle. You have read that book, I suppose. The monk who sold a Ferrari, that kind of a lifestyle. So, I mean, it's like Gita Thalbar kind of a statement you made, the Norwegian girl. So now we have to. Now this is not a discussion forum for this all this. This is a you have to kind of sell your thing. Now this will have to. You have to, that we can't guide how will you put it. But once you get into a loop like that, with sorry you got into a loop like that, then entire thing could probably divert into a loop. Not for your strength, they may take you to a loop line which may not be your strength. Because you see, there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer to that. There cannot be a right and wrong answer. It's the views of this part versus your view, my versus my view. So here the question is a strategy. Basically, you have to take them to your strength. And then the electronics, of course, you have to latest technologies, etc. You have to brush up. PSIR, all these, all these stories, entire thing happening all over the world, India's position with many things we couldn't ask, bilateral, multilateral, so many agencies, etc. So that was, and when you say that, point-wise, short, crisp, no introduction, no conclusion, just say the points, what they want to know, and stop. And the rest of that little gaps, etc., knowledge that will evidence that something happened, what are the types of, you say something, defendant said, okay, evidence that whichever evidence, easily instantaneous. So that's why you have to think through and exactly what you can defend. You say 1 or 2 points less, doesn't matter. But ultimately, when it comes to the supplementaries, counter questions, they should be able to kind of stand on your feet. With reason, I mean, that kind of a thing. Very little conservative, what you are saying. Anything else? Anything, Sanskriti, you want to ask us?
No, sir.
So, but you are there. I mean, you are there 182. You must get 200 plus, and take it as a standalone exam. You don't know about your, like last year it happened. Your mains you don't know. Nobody knows. No, even in UPSC nobody knows. The board will not know. So it is a standalone. Try to maximize, leverage these marks to get into better service and maybe good service, better cadre, etc. Okay. So all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
We want to see your name in the very fast, maybe first 30, 40
Thank you, sir.
order of merit.
Thank you.
Okay, so good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.